Hey guys, so just wanted to take a second to walk you through another example of a positive negative chart. So here's one that I got out of the homework. It's actually from practice number 15. Yours will probably not be identical, however, it will look very similar. So the question says, solve x minus 3 over x plus 5 equals 0, and x minus 3 over x plus 5 less than or equal to 0 analytically, then use a graphing calculator to graph and solve the function greater than or equal to 0. So what I want you to take a note is over here to the right, I made kind of a cheat sheet for you. So practice number 15 and number 16, and then demonstrate number 9 and number 10 all use those same directions. The wording that I used in class was make a positive negative chart to determine all of those. So I'm going to kind of walk you through what's my math lab asking versus what did we do in class. So the first part says to find f of x equals 0. So in my case, the function was x minus 3 over x plus 5, and I want to find where does that equal 0. Well, if you remember, the only time that a function equals 0 is when the numerator is 0. So that's what I've got written over here. A 0 on top is okay. 0 on bottom is undefined. That's no, you can't have that. So to find where this fraction equals 0, I'm just going to set the numerator equal to 0. So I get x equals 3. When you go to type this into my math lab, you would select the first one, A, that says the solution set is blank, and you would type in a 3 to the curly brackets that are already there. The only time you would use there is no solution is if there is no variable on the numerator. So if the numerator was just -2 over some stuff, that would have no value for which the top could equal 0. So that would be there is no solution. But for this one, I did get one, x equals 3. Now to find my critical value, so for the second two parts for the inequalities, I'm going to need to use my critical values. So to find the two critical values, you are going to find the critical values, you're going to set the denominator equal to 0 and the numerator. So in this case, my denominator was x plus 5. Set that equal to 0. That's going to give me a critical value at -5. And then the numerator equal to 0 is what I just found, x minus 3 equals 0, which is going to give me my second critical value at x equals 3. Now here's where the positive negative chart comes in. You are going to use these two critical values on your chart to break up the number line. So I went ahead and got my chart ready. Now I do have to put them in order, so -5 comes first. So I'm going to have -5 as the first critical value and then 3 as the second. The order does matter. They have to go from least to greatest. Now from here, I'm going to find some test values because I want to know the signs associated with all the values in that area. So what I mean is test value. I need a number over here to the left of -5, meaning smaller than -5. So I'm just going to pick the smallest one, -6. My next test value, I need between -5 and 3. I could pick any number between -5 and 3, but I always want to pick 0 whenever possible because that's going to be the easiest option. Last part, I need a number between 3 and infinity, so the easiest one or the smallest one would be 4. These are just test values. These are not values that are going to give you these are not going in your answer. The only numbers that are going to be used in your answer are these test values. Sorry, these critical values, not your test values. Those are just used to find the sign. So to find the sign, I'm going to plug in -6 to my function. So because we can't really see my function anymore, I'm going to rewrite it down here. F of x equals x minus 3, x plus 5. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to plug in my test values everywhere I see an x. So when I plug in -6, negative 6 minus 3 is going to be negative 9. Well, I only care about the sign, negative, over, plug it into the bottom. Negative 6 plus 5 is going to give me negative 1, but I only care about the sign. So that's going to go with that part right there. You don't have to draw the line. Sometimes the line helps just to kind of sort what is what. If you leave enough space between them, you'll be able to tell easily. I'm going to do the same thing with my critical value. So I'm going to plug in negative 5. And again, I'm plugging in where I see an x. So negative 5 minus 3 is going to give me a negative 8. I only care about the negative part, over, plug into the bottom, negative 5 plus 5 is going to give me 0. Now I'm going to go on to 0. So 0 minus 3 is going to give me a negative 3, but I only care about the negative sign. 0 plus 5 is going to give me positive. Same thing with 3. 3 minus 3 is going to give me 0. Over 3 plus 5 is going to give me a positive number. 4 minus 3 is going to give me positive. Over 4 plus 5 is going to give me positive. So now what I'm going to go through, and I'm going to simplify all of these. I'm going to scoot that thing down. Simplify this. Well, my first column, negative divided by a negative, that gives me a positive number. I don't care about numbers, I only care about signs. Negative, so I'm on the second one, negative divided by 0, well, any number divided by 0 is going to be undefined. Negative divided by a positive is going to give me a negative. 0 divided by a positive is going to give me 0. Positive divided by a positive is going to give me positive. So now this breaks up my intervals. So going back to, now that I've completed my sign chart, going back to what it said in my math lab, said, all right, well, find where is this thing less than or equal to 0. Less than or equal to 0 is going to correspond with where was it negative on the sign chart. So I'm going to go down to my sign chart and find the intervals where it was negative. Well, I can see right here that the sign chart came out negative. Now, I have to say in my math lab that interval. Now remember, up here it said less than or equal to 0. So anywhere that there's a 0, like right here, that counts because it said less than or equal to. So my interval is going to be negative 5, parenthesis, up to 3, because it is negative and 0. So for part B, where it said find where f of x is less than or equal to 0, it's less than or equal to 0 from negative 5 to 3. And 3 gets a bracket because it was equal to 0. Negative 5 doesn't get a bracket because at negative 5 it was undefined, not 0. So that's why it gets a parenthesis. 3 gets a bracket because at 3 the value was actually 0. The second part they asked me to do was then to find where is f of x greater than or equal to 0. So that's going to be where is it positive. So right here, where is f of x, that's f of x, greater than 0, that's going to correspond with where is this thing, where is it positive on the sign chart. Now remember, I include zeros. So back down here, well, it's positive here, which is this interval, and it's positive here, which is that interval. I also get to include 0 again because it said greater than or equal to. So because that or equal to, I get to include the 0. So this thing is getting a parenthesis, again, because it's not equal to 0. So I'm going to have negative infinity to negative 5 with a parenthesis, union, My next one, 3, is getting a bracket because at 3, the value is 0. So then I have bracket 3 to infinity.